Education. The process of receiving or giving systematic instruction, especially at a school or university. An enlightening experience. UHS is first and foremost a place for learning. However, we often don't recognize socialization and non-academic subjects to be a part of that education. Schooling is a holistic process where everything that happens within the walls of a school adds to the knowledge of the student. Our school is a place not only for systematic instruction, but for free expression that adds to the overall enlightening experience of high school.
We interact with all members of our community. We learn from our teachers in academic settings, and we learn from our peers both inside and outside of the traditional classroom. We are expected to conduct every one of these exchanges at UHS with the school's 5 core values in mind.
Care, investing wholeheartedly in our work and in one another, cultivating empathy, compassion, mindfulness, and resilience, recognizing and seeking to address injustice.
Interconnection, building and sustaining an intentionally diverse, equitable, and inclusive school, engaging as socially responsible citizens in communities near and far, recognizing that we form a web through our common humanity. What affects one person affects us all.
Integrity, being truthful, open, honest, and reflective, honoring the wholeness of each individual, acting to fulfill a purpose larger than the self.
Inquiry, being curious, open-minded, and courageous, seeking out different perspectives and learning from one another, striving to deepen our understanding of the evolving world.
Agency, taking risks and growing from the experience, pursuing our passions with confidence, creativity, and humility, discovering and making real our own distinctive and evolving expressions of excellence.
But what happens when we don't have empathy for one another? What happens when we don't make space for different perspectives? What happens when we fail to understand that what affects one person affects us all?
We say that these are the attributes that we value on campus, but with this school year's recent acts of racial hate, it is hard to believe that we are fulfilling our duty to uphold them. After taking History of Whiteness with Justin and Molly, we realize that the root of our problems lies within the interactions we have with each other and the way that we talk about issues on campus. For our final project, we wanted to dive deeper into the conversations we have at UHS and the culture created by them. We spoke to members of our class about the way our community engages with differences and how it affects life as a UHS student.
I think some students do a pretty good job of trying to be empathetic to the other side or to people who have different beliefs than themselves. But I mean, from people on both the left side of things and the right side of things, they can be a little bit closed-minded and just stay within their own beliefs rather than trying to understand the other beliefs.
I think that there's always somebody ready to listen, but also UHS tends to be a very analytical community, and so there's always going to be someone playing devil's advocate, even if they agree.
Yeah. I mean, I think all schools, especially private schools, where you're paying a lot to, be fostered in this extremely high-stress environment, I think there definitely is going to be a certain level of empathy that the school, the administration, teachers, and I guess students from being educated will give.
I also think that there's kind of a discouragement to show emotion, to show weakness, to show that you're struggling. It can be very, very hard to show that vulnerability just because you want to be seen as the perfect student, the perfect hard worker.
I don't know. I feel like UHS is a very sympathetic community in that we like to, even if we don't necessarily agree with someone, we'll be they're whatever they're doing is so difficult. There's a lot of talk about difficulty at UHS. This person, whatever, this is so hard. We like to compare each other, and I feel like that creates a community of more sympathy than empathy in a lot of ways.
I don't think UHS is that much of a divided community. I mean, of course, wherever you go, there are going to be people with different political beliefs, and there are going to be divisions within groups because no one will ever be completely similar in how they think and operate. But however, I do feel like people with more conservative beliefs or right-sided beliefs may feel uncomfortable voicing their opinions or may feel ostracized from the rest of the community.
I think people often get really caught up with their own feelings and in what other people will think about them and don't really take the time to ask the questions that need to be asked. And that doesn't necessarily mean, I'm going to ask a question that will make me seem the most woke or the least ignorant, but asking questions where it's like you genuinely don't understand, and you're like, I don't know why this is necessarily bad, or I don't know why people are getting so angry about this, instead of just asking like blasé questions that are very fluffy and are usually just used to like show off that you know more than someone else, or used to, I guess, like get heated and attack someone else, because I think that's often what happens.
In school, like UHS very much is associated with this idea of privilege and prestige, and I think that they're like when we were freshmen, and I think like we've seen like there are a lot of really problematic ideas on campus still. So I would just go back to that idea of like, do we want all the ideas in the community to be heard?
When I interact with someone who has different beliefs than myself, I try to understand what sets our beliefs apart from each other, and I ask questions to see how I can understand better what they're thinking that's different from myself, and I also try to explain my point of view rather than just listening to them, because it's important to hear both sides of the story.
Being okay with the fact that you may not be the person who knows everything, and just knowing that it's okay to rely on your peers and teachers just to inquire and be like, what's going on today, what month is it, this month, and
ask lots and lots of questions, because there are so many people here with very interesting views, very fascinating life stories, and you want to learn as many of those as possible to better develop yourself.
And now we continue our conversation on the national reaction to the violence in Charlottesville.
With the various instances of ignorance and violence that happen on a micro and macro level, it is easy to see the way that greater society is mirrored here on our smaller high school campus. America is divided. Let that truth be told. No matter how much empathy you can have towards differing perspectives, everyone can admit that our society has become polarized.
Look,
Secretary, is it President Obama's fault? But you have no plan.
Oh, I do.
Secretary, you have no plan.
Because our country fails to create a common ground between two different sides, it's harder for us as a community to come together.
The only way we can change this issue is to deepen our understanding of the wide variety of perspectives within our school and improve our empathy as a collective community.
By creating this film and sharing it with the school community, we not only hope to foster more productive conversations amongst people with opposing opinions, we also hope to redefine how we value conversations here on campus.
Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "People fail to get along because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other."